Hi, Adam. How are you?
Good, good. I appreciate you coming on. For anybody listening to us, just listening, Neil was waving to everyone, so that we're gonna have to do some video breakdown of the pod. But how you doing?
This is video and audio, though, right?
Yep, we're doing both.
Okay.
Where
Well,
are you right now?
I am in my bedroom,
In
but I'm moving, so everything's in boxes.
Yeah, I noticed there. You got quite a
Yeah.
few things. Where are you headed to?
So right now I'm in Oklahoma City. That's where I'm like based right now. And then in March I'm going to Atlantic City for the spring and summer.
You move around quite a bit.
It's not by choice. Yeah. My lifestyle is undesirable.
For sure, man. I'm in that same group right now. Before we dive into just like how Neil and I met, I do need to say if you're watching us on YouTube, make sure to hit that like button, share, subscribe, and hit the
Yeah,
notifications
sure.
bell so you don't miss our upcoming content. And then we are on Patreon now, patreon.com/F and F pod. F and F pod. And if you can support us there, really appreciate it. But let's just jump into it. Like, so we met two different times in like way different circumstances. I'm gonna turn down this light just a little bit. Just feel like I'm.
I met you
Wait,
first at an open mic in Manhattan.
no, we met at the World Series of Comedy in Minneapolis,
Oh, right. Okay.
and I saw you, and I think Luke Severide was there, but or he was coming the
Yeah,
next
Luke's a
day,
homie.
and I think you mentioned that you guys were friends or whatever, but I think both of us
Yeah.
have kind of a certain appearance to us that isn't
Yeah.
the most welcoming. And uh,
Yeah.
later on, I ended up seeing you again at Above the Line in New York City. It was Brian Elberg and Max Mocanen, I think the
Oh,
name of
that's
those
right.
guys.
That's right. That's right.
We did a show together, and it was just like I think that was the first show I did in New York when I visited.
Yeah, and then you were like going to like open for Big J or something.
I was going down. I went to go hang out with Big J uh, at the Village
Stand.
Underground that night.
The VU.
Yeah, so I had worked with Jay, and like I didn't even think he was gonna like hook it up at the door, but he let me come hang out, and it was so bizarre, man, to go from like what that show was to like the Village Underground in the same night. Like New York is just crazy.
But that show, what's funny about New York is like that show was stacked also.
Yes, it was.
Like Jordan Jensen was
Yeah,
on, and someone else that I was like, what? And that's like what's so funny about New York is like, I don't know. Maybe we're getting ahead of ourselves here, but like, I always say like the difference between like Austin and New York is that Austin you can get an audience, but it's like the same amount of stage time. But like the shows in New York, like you're competing with like you're competing for bar shows. You're competing with Mark Norman and Joe List.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like in Austin, it's like you can get the bar show because like Tony Hinchcliffe's not doing bar shows.
Mm-hmm.
But in New York, like all those dudes, uh, Sam Morril, Adrian Appalucci, like they're all also doing bar shows. So it's like, how are we supposed to get stage
It's
time?
that was one of my questions for you. Is didn't you live in New York for a while? Like I saw on your website, you
Yeah.
were
Well,
there.
I started in New York,
You
and like,
started in New York.
yeah, and I mean, I think New York makes you good. It's like boot camp. You know what I mean? It's like because you are competing with those dudes. You are like competing with like heavy hitters, and so like if you can't keep up, you just drown or quit or stay in the open mics. And can't really afford to keep going to $10 open mics.
Yeah.
So you got to get good. And then at a certain point, I felt like uh, I felt like I wasn't getting in the clubs as quickly as I'd like, and I saw opportunity elsewhere to get into clubs on the road, and so I've always been nomadic. Like I used to tour at rock bands and stuff,
Hmm.
so just hitting the road was like an easy decision for me.
What? So when you were in that situation, like, because I have a lot of people that listen to this and watch that are in that place where they're doing mics and they're like trying to figure out like how do I go from that position to the next. Like, what did your life look like at that point in New York? Were you like living outside the city? Were you coming in all the time? Like,
Yeah.
what were you doing?
Well, so I've always sorry, I'm like recovering from a tonsillectomy.
Yeah, I saw that your Facebook posts about it.
Yeah. So I lived on Long Island my whole life, and commuting to the city like when I was like 16 or 17, like my summer job and like my high school, like my one of my first jobs was a record store in Manhattan. So like uh, the commute is nothing. Like I don't know. And then like I hear, I know people that live like in Brooklyn and stuff, and they take the subway into the city, and it still takes 45 minutes. So like, to me, it never really, it the, the city was just an extension of where I lived. You
Hmm.
know, like maybe people from the city will be like, "You're not from the city," but it's like, all right, well, I learned everything I know from it. So
Yeah, because
yeah,
I remember even at that show, you were like, the parking situation in New York is so confusing. Like
yeah,
the signs are crazy, and you knew exactly. Like I remember that distinctly. Like, no,
yeah,
we can park there, but we can't park over here, and like
yeah, yeah.
kind of like found you very interesting just at a distance because you're doing a lot of stuff that like uh, may seem like I know you've like struggled with depression and stuff. I saw some of those posts, and like it doesn't feel like you're on a path all the time or whatever. Like I don't know the right way of putting that, but um, you are doing things and figuring it out, and and like it's impressive to see on the. I don't know what I'm trying to say right now. I'm fucking up what I'm trying to say, but I
Well, I think you're flattering me, so I'll say thank you.
thanks, buddy.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's just everyone figures it out their own way, right? I don't know. I've never been a 9 to 5 kind of guy. Like I don't mind. Like I'll work hard. Like I said, like I used to tour manage bands and stuff, which is a 24-hour a day job. So like I don't mind the work, and I feel like with stand up, I work. I mean, I work as hard as I could possibly work at it. Um, uh, but I don't, I think everyone does their own, like I don't think it makes me special or different. I think I'm just, all my hard work and $3 I can ride the subway, like I don't think anything.
So when you were in Long Island though, and doing stand up, like what did that look like for you? Were you going into the clubs, or were you like,
So when I started, I was running a nightclub on Long Island. So like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, I was, working like 12 to 15-hour shifts. But then only one day during the week I had to go into the office to like take care of business. So, um, you know, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I could just go into the city at like 2, to like beat traffic, find a parking spot, and then I would just do mics all night. There was a 4:30, and then as many spots as I could get in. And then as I started graduating to like bar shows and like check spots and late night spots, I still the same MO. I would go in at 2 and do the 3 o'clock at Auto Shrunken Head, and then the 4:30 at Climate, and then do mics or meet, do writing sessions until my spots at night, and then do spots at night, and then hit the late night Creek in the Cave mic on the way home, and Or as I got like more seasoned, start hanging out at clubs and stuff, just to like show a face because that's part of it. Um, but yeah, that would be like a typical week would just be like 4 days of like all day in the city, and then 3 days like all night at work.
What do you,
And
like? Do you
then
think that's necessary to do? Because that's like it's a very um, kind of grinded out mentality, and I just as I've done stand up longer, like I'm starting to question like you got to be living life outside of what you're doing on stage, and like if you're doing 6 mics a night or whatever in New York, like what are you going to talk about? The last mic that you were at?
right. Well, fortunately, I was also working a crazy job, like running a nightclub. I mean, story after story after story. Like um, so maybe I was a little fortunate in that regard.
Yeah, the well was pretty rich.
I don't know, man. I'm kind of on the fence about the grind mentality. Um, I do think that if this is just a hobby, you're not gonna get as good. But I don't know, like what what entails taking something seriously. Like how deep do you have to go? So like I definitely saw people hustling harder than me, like hitting like 14 mics a day, like 7 spots a night or whatever. And it was like, I grind slightly differently. Like, I spend more time writing, I think. So, like, I'll work on a bit at the 4:30, and then maybe I won't hit a 5 o'clock mic or a 5:30 mic because I'll want to like fine tune what I did. So then at the 6:30 or at the 8:30, I can really like own in on what the bit should be. And I felt like I could start a joke on the way in, like formulate the joke on the drive in, and then by the last mic of the night, like we have we have how the joke looks.
Huh.
Um,
That's interesting because like where I'm at in Seattle, there's probably like you can get up 2 to 3 times a night, but our mics are like shows. Like there's audience members at almost all of them. They're super supportive in Seattle. We're lucky in that situation. Um, but it's I would say like you take a new idea and by the end of the week, that's when it's sort of been flushed out. But I have like the time to let it breathe in between those days. Whereas like I would love to like do a bit, have an hour to like think about it and then get up. But usually I'm like trying to get to the next spot and they're all so stacked together. So it's like from
yeah.
7 to like 11 is when you can really get up in Seattle.
Yeah. Also, in New York, you can't. There are no audiences, not even for shows. Shows feel like mics. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that show that we did. I mean, what was this? 2 tables of people, 3 tables of people.
Yeah, which was
You know what I
crazy
mean?
because like I remember you had one joke that just had me fucking rolling. Like and I'm not gonna butcher your joke, but like it's one of the best jokes I've heard in comedy about like your uh like how do I say this without
Oh,
the
the juxtaposition.
no, not
With
that
what?
it's the as much as the next guy joke.
Oh,
And it's such a simple joke. Like
yeah,
functionally, it's a very simple joke, but it's very
yeah,
very
yeah, yeah,
good. And it was like what the like being in a space like that you're talking about where there's 2 tables full of people and
yeah.
you hear a line like that and you're like fuck like this deserves to be in a an environment that appreciates it. But it when you're in those situations like what's the point, what are you getting out of going up multiple times a night when there's nobody that you're running the material by?
So I think there's a huge um, a lot to be said for just the rep, right? Just, and I think it prepares you for bigger things. So just the walk on stage, take the mic out of the stand, put the stand behind you, tell a joke, right? I think there's like so much to be gained from just making that just such a rote part of your, just making it second nature, so that no audience is intimidating. Because I've been up in front of two drunk assholes that didn't want to be there, and I just took the mic out of the stand, put the stand behind me, and started telling jokes. And like, I think that prepares you for like anything, you know. But
That's when I
I don't
left
know,
New
man. There's
York, I
arguments
felt
against it.
I
Say again.
when I left New York, I felt it was like all of the it cemented shit. Like all the like in between skills I felt like were way stronger. Like I had no fear going on stage. Like it went away pretty quickly after, but like
Yeah.
I when I got back from New York, I was like, there's no distractions here. There's like this is a good audience. They're attentive or whatever. Like you're fighting for every
Yeah.
laugh in New York, and then when you get in front of like good audiences, you're so prepared.
I will say being away from New York has softened me for
Yeah.
sure. Like I'm more aware of what's going on in the room. Not that's incorrect, because I'm always aware of what's going on in the room. I'm more aware of distractions in the room now. Like if someone drops a glass in the back, oh no. The big one is the when the bartender
Yeah.
is shaking the cocktail. In New York, you could set off a bomb, and I'd be like, "You guys ever? What's the deal with airplane food?" But he like now, 2 years removed from being a New York City comic, like that fucking shaky in the back, and I'm like, can God have some respect for the art form, please?
Yeah.
You know, which is, I guess, that's what New York does to you. It makes you strong.
What's the other
Because
side of that
because
though?
you'll die. Like you'll die. Like New York will literally kill you. Like, which is why I left. Like I
Yeah.
couldn't take it anymore. But like, I mean, on every level, like New York will kill you. And I just, whatever.
So you did say though that there were like pros and cons to like getting those reps, right? Like there's
Yeah,
something to be said that there's value in the rep. Um, is what would you say is the downside of that?
I don't know. Maybe you might develop some bad habits because you're constantly only talking to comedians, or only talking to only in a slugfest. And so maybe you start becoming competitive. Um, what I've learned out here, like in the rest of the universe, is that like, not that I learned it out here, but cemented it out here, is that our job is to entertain. Like people spent a lot of money, got a babysitter, paid for parking, $20 to get in, a two drink minimum. Maybe they bought some overpriced wings that didn't taste good. And our job is to distract them from all that, and not and make them forget that they're wasting money. You know what I mean? Like, the worst thing in the world would be for them to leave and be like, "Well, that was a fucking waste of time. Those guys all sucked." So our job is to entertain. And like it feel like in New York, it felt like everything's a roast battle. Like everyone's roasting the audience. Like, this guy's fat fuck over here. This guy. Oh yeah, eat another nacho, you big piece of shit. And everyone's laughing. And that guy's not having fun. That guy's not having fun. That guy just feels like he wasted $13 on nachos.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
out here, you don't get that as much. Out here, it's like, nah, we got to entertain, or the club's not having you back.
Hmm.
Like you get a couple of negative comment cards, and it's like, I don't need you. There's 5,000 of you,
Yeah.
and they're all serviceable. Like, so what? My joke is crisper than that guy's joke. That guy does it. Everyone likes that guy.
Yeah.
I pissed off the audience twice, so then I don't get the job anymore. You know.
Yeah.
So
Let's talk
that's
about this a little bit because you transitioned from being in New York to doing the road, and you worked the shit out of the road. Like I mean, I remember the first time I saw like, hey, these are my dates that you posted. It's like
just
all over the
all.
country. Yeah, there's
Yeah.
and if anybody's watching this and in a different state besides just Washington, like go see Neil, support him, check out his Patreon. He's very funny, good dude. Obviously, you guys are are checking out right now, but um, like, how did you go from being in Long Island in New York to working the road that you have been?
I think people have this misconception that like New York is like this like uber liberal, super woke, like you can't talk about things. Dude, New York audiences are as multicultural, diverse, middle of America sample as anywhere else. Like, you know, I get maybe we have more minorities in New York than in Oklahoma, but like everywhere you go in America is like a cross section of America. Like you're not. Um, y- y- New York, New York is all tourists. You know what I mean? It's the same audience. I like if it's not working in Manhattan, it's not going to work in Oklahoma.
Hmm.
It's not, and
But then
vice
you also
versa.
have like you have Brooklyn, you have Queens, like for
So
these.
yeah, if you have like a Brooklyny audience, maybe it's a little more woke. But I mean, no more woke than Portland or Berkeley. You know what I mean? Like you're not. I don't know. So I open for Ashley Gavin quite a bit. She's like a lesbian icon right now,
Hmm.
and her audiences are 500 lesbians every night. Just that's it. 500 woke ass non-binary
Yeah,
lesbians,
I opened for Emma
and
Willman last weekend,
per-
so yeah,
exactly, very similar audience. I think Emma actually has a few more straight people than Ashley,
yeah,
but
probably.
very similar.
Is there, by the way,
Um,
before you keep going, is there something like rubbing against the base of the mic or anything?
I
I
am.
okay,
Yeah,
yeah,
sorry.
I'm picking up a little bit. I don't want to be driving anybody crazy, and they're like, what's that?
Sorry. Yeah,
You're good. You're
yeah.
good. Keep going though for me.
Um, uh, so yeah, like if it like I do the same stuff for that audiences that I do for like the rednecks in Oklahoma. Well, Oklahoma City's not really rednecks, but like the rednecks in like Georgetown, Texas. You know what I mean? And it's like I don't know, man. If your jokes work, they work. Funny is funny. You know, like everyone, most people that are coming to comedy clubs have a sense of humor about themselves. So I can make a joke where, you know, I say, you know, it was hard to date in June because all the straight girls were gay for Pride Month. Like they have a sense of humor about that.
Yeah,
Like they get. Oh yeah, no, I see what you're doing. You know what I mean? Like it's not
and that's interesting
everyone knows
though,
what I mean.
because like
Huh?
who the like target of that is essentially like straight women that act gay for a month,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
But like
Yeah,
it could be perceived as like it on like gut impulse, it could be like something that an LGBTQ person would be offended by, but then when you actually look at it, it's like,
yeah, no,
yeah.
yeah.
So it, I just did Bend, Oregon this past weekend,
Oh,
or like I'm here right now, and it's very like conservative from what I've pieced together.
oh
I
yeah.
could be if somebody's watching and they're from Bend and I'm wrong, throw it in the comment section and let me know. But it's like one of those places where you walk in and there's an American flag hanging
Mm.
behind the stage, and I don't like. I actually kind of like going into those environments more because they're uh, they're like starved for entertainment. Like they don't get comedy very often, and it's a chance to kind of like say some things that like maybe challenge some of their beliefs, but like while continuing to give them a good show. Like I'm not up there to like I'm not an educator. Like my job is to make
Yeah,
them laugh. But
yeah,
I'm not gonna like change what I say because I'm in Bend versus
yeah,
somewhere else. And it seems like that's what you're saying in regards to like being in New York
yeah,
and then doing the road.
yeah. Especially conservative audiences tend to have a pretty good sense of humor about themselves, except when you bring up either the president or the former president.
Yeah,
Then they get
those
real
are the
serious.
two.
Then it's like real serious all of a sudden. They're like,
Yeah.
"Oh, you're like, what? You have a favorite president?" Luke has that bit where
Yeah, yeah, the
he's
eh,
like he's like, "You have a favorite president, you fucking nerd."
yeah, it's super funny. I don't know if he's posted that on Instagram at all, but Luke Severide, uh,
Yeah.
he's been on the podcast before, but he's got
Oh
this
yeah, yeah.
killer bit
He's
about just like, yeah, I don't want to butcher it, but it's
yeah.
having a
He's here.
favorite president.
I'm with him in Bricktown next weekend.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Very excited. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Are you headlining and he's featuring for you? Or vice
No, I'm
versa?
hosting. He's featuring.
Oh, nice. Nice.
I'm hosting.
Tell him I say what's up. So,
I
uh,
will. I will. Josh hasn't. Last time I spoke to Josh, he was like, "Oh, we gotta get you in as a feature," but he hasn't made the move yet. So hopefully,
yeah. I
uh,
thought you were fucking headlining the club.
no,
Yeah.
not. I don't have any credit. I don't have any like current credits. All my credits are like 10 years old. So
What were those from, by the way?
I did like I. I was on TV for a while. I was on a show called Spike. Uh, I was on a show on Spike TV called Casino Cinema,
Mm-hmm.
and while I was on that show, like I would do like background stuff and like extra stuff, like featured extra stuff on like other sitcoms and TV shows and stuff. But yeah, I don't know. I wrote a joke on Flight of the Concords. Um, I don't know. I just got, I got lucky early on, but
That's tight.
none of that stuff matters anymore. Spike TV doesn't even exist anymore, so we're not.
Yeah, Derek Drescher. He's a
Is he
New
one of
York
the
guy.
Yeah.
He does a 23 and 1 show at the Stand.
Oh, with Geo.
Yeah, yeah. So he was like he's coming on the podcast in a few weeks, but I was watching Netflix the other day, and there's this movie called Leave No Trace, and I'm watching it, and there's this interaction with like it's a homeless husband and or not husband, dad and daughter that are living in the woods in Portland, and they go into Portland proper to like get medication stuff, and the guy flips his benzos for money, and I'm watching it, and the guy he's flipping the benzos to, I'm like, that looks that guy looks so much like Derek, like that's crazy. And I'm like on my phone, I look up on IMDb, I'm like, holy shit, that's my buddy Derek. And like I'm surprised I haven't had that moment with you though, because I looked at your like,
It's all so old though. Everything's so old.
yeah, you did that
Like
before
even if you
stand up
saw it, you
though.
might not even recognize me. You know what I mean?
But you were doing that before stand up?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
you did like some acting stuff, you managed bands, and then you got into stand up?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Several lives.
Yeah,
Yeah.
man. So you left New York though to go to Oklahoma City?
To pursue stand up. Um, yeah, I just felt like it was. I had to get out of New York. There was a lot of bad stuff going on in my personal life. I had to get out of New York, and an opportunity came up here. I have friends here from previous lives, and it made sense in a lot of ways because I am doing the road so much. And so this is, I mean, we're right in the middle of America right here. I can get anywhere, a 10-hour drive puts me like everywhere, Um, and at the time, there were two chains here. There was Looney Bin and there's Bricktown.
Mm-hmm.
And, the goal was to get past at both, and I got past at both. And yes, I mean, Josh is very kind to me, so that's 7 to 12 weeks of work right there, and then the loony bin is another 6 weeks of work. It's a lot of work
Yeah.
right here. Not to mention, the headliners that I get to open for, who, if they take me out once every other month, that's another, you know, 18 weeks of work there. So that's a year.
Yeah.
It's
And when
great.
you're doing like that type of lifestyle, like what are you driving most of these places?
Yeah, most of the places.
And are you living like in your car or what where are you sleeping?
Yeah. Uh, so from touring with rock bands, I'm very fortunate. I have a huge network of friends that'll like let me crash with them or whatever. So I'll stay with people a lot, and then when I'm out with headliners, usually uh, they get me a, they'll get me a hotel, through the club, you know. So that's a lot of that's a lot of the time. And then Looney Bin puts up hosts,
Really?
so that's yeah. You just gotta you know uh, some nights I have to I'll treat myself and get a hotel if I have the money, if I made money that week, or just the car,
Yeah. Do you are
on the
you in the
road.
back seat? Because the reason why I asked, I was sleeping at a Safeway like 2 nights ago,
Yeah,
and it's a weird situation to be in.
yeah. I'll just put the seat back in the front seat and
Yeah,
kick off my shoes.
yeah, dude. It's that's when you
It's
wake
rough.
up.
It's not great.
No, no.
It's not great. But
I,
hopefully it changes. Hopefully, I can start headlining. Um, hopefully the following gets bigger and the, couple more things go viral, I don't know how many things you need to I don't know how many times you have to have 1 million views on something for people
to
to give a shit
start
about
making
you,
them,
but
yeah, yeah,
like at this point it's like I don't know, every couple of months I get 1 million views on something and it's like still nothing. Still
yeah. It's
I'm still broke. Okay.
so why, like, you left New York.
Why do it? Why stay alive? I don't know. I ask myself all the time.
Yeah, no.
Fill my pockets with rocks and walk into the ocean.
I was in that same spot mentally last night. I like fucking I gotta get home. Like just this.
What happened? Oh, with that guy with the conversation.
It just yeah, I just some I mean, it's fun to do comedy on the road. Like I love going to places and like meeting new people and all that shit, but you're also like away from your personal life and like I'm sure for you like when shit starts happening like you have to just go and it
Yeah.
is hard and I don't know.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't. I pretty much sacrificed my personal life at this point. Like, I don't. Um. Yeah, it's a bummer. I'm very lonely a lot of the time, uh, and my mental health is not good. um.
I laugh because I don't know, I'm starting personally to like see a side of this where I'm like, yeah, I need to do like it's actually bad for my work to not take care of those things. Like I can't I'm supposed to be selling like happiness and like laughter to people.
Yeah. I think I have a different philosophy on that.
Okay.
Uh, uh, I mean, most of my stuff is trauma based. You know what I mean? Like it. I un that's how I unpack things. Is I'm like, well, my parents are dead. What's funny about that? You know? And then I can make jokes about my parents being dead, and then maybe people with dead parents, you know, can identify with it and be like, oh, thank you for, relieving the tension, you know?
Hmm.
I don't know. That's how I look at it. I don't know.
No, I mean I'm in a very similar boat where like most of my humor comes from like a dark place. Like it's not I I always feel bad going on stage 'cause I'm like, oh fuck, like it's gonna be funny. Like we're gonna get to the funny part, but it's like, yeah, a lot of this
Yeah.
stuff is like kind of like you're. It's not always the easiest to sell it compared to just like I kind of envy the people that like have those jokes that come from like the light, and I just I wonder if like some of it has to do with the way I'm living. You know, like if I myself am living in a way that I'm unhappy, does it then translate to my comedy being coming from that place too?
I wonder. I don't know. I mean, do you struggle with depression?
Like a motherfucker, dude. It's like it was what
So I
got me
mean,
into stand up.
yes, I think that's just then that's just who you are. Like it's just gonna come from that place because that's the. I mean, to me, and I have no degrees or I've never been to school, so I have no idea. But to me, it seems that the thing about depression is that we have like these like these of our brain. Like one is like logical and rational, and then the other is like depression. And depression always wins. So then like our ability to make jokes about it is just our rational side trying to be like, well, let's dig into this.
Obscene.
Let's
Like
dig
just
into
yeah,
why we're depressed.
yeah.
What?
Or just
Yeah.
this thing that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. And try to make sense of it. You know what I mean? Like my parents being dead is not why I have depression. You know what I mean? But like it's a sad thing. And let's try and make light of it. Let's try and like figure it out or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't even know what I'm saying.
We just collectively just made this into the saddest podcast I think I've ever done.
Uh, yeah, story of my life, man. Story of my life.
It's all good, man. There were a couple other things I wanted to talk to you. I want to be respectful of your time. But like,
Oh,
so
whatever.
you're based out of OKC, and you're doing
Right now.
yeah, and you're going
Yeah.
to Atlantic City. You said, but like,
Yeah.
how you travel all over the U.S. to do comedy,
Yeah.
and how do you make that work? Like, what's your kind of process for doing that? And then, do you have any tips for comics that are interested in kind of pursuing something like that?
One, it doesn't work. It really doesn't. I'm constantly struggling for cash. Um, you know, I'll make just enough to cover what it costs to do it in most instances. Um, it's really it's a bad I make bad decisions and I compound them constantly. Uh, and like I'm not kidding. If there is anything else that makes you happy, do it. Cause this it's a killer. Like I'm only happy when I'm telling jokes on stage. That's it. You know what I mean? Like I'm not and like the post show hang, I have fun at the post show hang.
Jesus
Like
Christ, Neil. I had no like
it's
I knew you were sad, but like fuck man. I was when I was like prepping some of these questions for you. I'm like, I hope he's got like this big schedule and stuff. I hope he's got some fucking cool tips for cut. Like, because I look
No,
at what you're doing, and I'm like, man, that's pretty fucking badass. But then, yeah, the reality of this fucking lifestyle is it sucks a lot.
it's brutal. Yeah, yeah. I would like. I honestly like. I used to be very proud and like made a lot of money at my jobs, and now I'm like I have no pride. I'll take any donations. Like I'm fucking, people like I used to not let anyone reach for their wallet after dinner.
Mm-hmm.
Now if someone's like I got it, I'm like yep, great, thanks.
Yeah. Well, how long have you been doing it
I get
for?
something to go. What?
How long have you been doing stand up for?
This is 8 years.
Okay. So yeah, I think like a lot of people that I talk to that are at that mark, it's like you're just trying to like break through and you're like
Yeah.
you've done all of this work to like build your skill set up and now you need that like kind of set of opportunities to where you can like show that.
You play poker?
I don't, but I am pretty like familiar with just gambling stuff.
So so the theory is luck is skill meets opportunity. Okay. I'm just waiting for the opportunities, and I make my own. I kick open doors. Like I'll I'm like I said, like I'm shameless now. I'll ask for anything. It's it's worth asking because it's benefited me. You know what I mean? Like um, when I first moved here, I posted a clip, and it did well, a couple 100,000 views, and some like a bigger comic reposted it, not someone I knew, just a stranger, just thought it was funny, reposted it, and I'm noticing my mentions are blowing up, and I'm like, what's going on? Like, where is this from? And I'm looking to find the source, and I find that this bigger comic blew me up, and started thanked them. They replied, dialogue's open. Hey, I see you're coming to Oklahoma City and El Paso and San Antonio. These are all like short drives for me. I'd love to open for you. And they said, sure. And I was like, wait, what? Like, that's it? Sure. All right. And then an email came from them to their manager with me on copy. It was like, hey, it's my friend Neil. He's going to open these, sets of dates. Like, give him the info. And that, like, so just ask.
Yeah.
Just, what, like, what they say no? You get 100 no's. You get no's from people that you're friends with. So might as well ask strangers.
Yeah.
Get a no. All right, get a no.
Yeah.
And then sometimes you open the dialogue even, and so it's a no now, but it might be a yes in the future because you open. I just did that with I don't want to say who, but I saw a special, and I was familiar with the comic, but I didn't really know them. And I saw the special, and I was blown away. And I saw that they were doing some dates near where I was going to be, and I was like, "Hey, listen, I know you don't know me or anything. People know me. I'm serviceable. I do the job, and I need dates when you're going to be in this place. Do you have an opener?" And they said, "Oh, they have an. Oh, we have an opener. Sorry. Um, thanks for asking or whatever." But then they felt obligated to like talk to me after that. Like they felt like, oh well, I gotta like, you know
Be
what I mean? I can't
friendly.
just say
Yeah.
no to the guy.
Yeah.
Like, how do you like Oklahoma City or whatever? They open up the dialogue, and so now we talk like kind of semi regularly. Like I see them on Fallon, I'll be like, oh, hey, congratulations on, you know what I mean? And it opens up this dialogue so that maybe, I don't know, maybe in 6 months, I ask again and the answer is different than it was this time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The, you gotta, I mean, it's, you
It's
know,
such a weird thing because you like it's important to ask, but then it's also like important to keep expectations around that stuff, like reasonable expectations. Like what you're saying
oh,
is
yeah.
like if you hear the answer no, you don't lose your fucking mind. Like it's okay for you to ask as much as it's okay for them to say no. And yeah, it took me I don't know how long in stand up before I started like realizing like, oh, it's okay to like go and ask people about stuff like that. But also the part of it that I think you might not be like emphasizing much is that you did a lot of work to prepare yourself for those opportunities.
I'm good.
Yeah, and like it's
I'm good.
you you need to be in that like whatever shoes you're trying to fill, you need to be able to fill those shoes if you get that
Yeah.
opportunity.
I do the job, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
that,
so
that
like
does help.
it
That does
it's
help.
important like you if you're trying to get a job and work somewhere like you should have the skills to do it. And if you don't have it yet, go put in the work that you need to do. And
Yeah.
I like, I don't know. There's not a lot of people that like laid that out for me or helped me understand that at all. And, you know, you can have an opportunity that's really good and kind of fuck it up because you're not ready for it too. So it's
Oh, for sure. For sure. For sure. Be ready. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like, because they're gonna, when you ask, they're gonna look. They're gonna look at your Instagram reels, or they're gonna look at your YouTube channel, whatever you have out there. They're gonna look, and if it sucks, they're gonna be like, "This what?
yeah.
No." You know what I mean?
Oh, for sure.
It helps that I'm good, and it helps that people know I'm good. There's some big names out there that will say, "Oh yeah, oh no, he's a killer. Neil's great. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Book Neil for sure." And it's flattering, and but it's helpful. It definitely makes a difference for
Yeah, you
sure.
worked to get there too. It wasn't like
Yeah.
it wasn't from day one I'm fucking
Oh no,
good. It's like
no, I was
no.
terrible when I started. Yeah, for sure. So
um
it was actually like a false start. Like when I was on TV, I tried doing stand up, and I was terrible. But I was getting opportunities because I had credits,
yeah.
which is like a crazy,
You were
like,
literally the person that you can't stand now.
100%. 100%. But I recognized it quick and I got out quick. I recognized it very quickly. And I was like, oh, I'm embarrassing myself. I'm embarrassing the people around me.
What were you
And so I
doing?
stopped. What?
What
Oh,
opportunity
just
did you get?
bad. What?
Like where were you?
Oh, just getting stage time that I shouldn't be getting with real people. Like Neighbor Gatsby had a show in Manhattan, like a midnight show at Broadway for a while, and I would like do that all the time. And I was terrible
yeah. And in front of like arguably the
in front
guy.
of in front of Neighbor Gatsby.
Yeah, he
I
like
was
he
bad.
grinded it out harder than anybody.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Embarrassing. I'm an embarrassment.
Sorry. I
But I
just
quit.
it say that again?
I quit. I quit. I got good, and I came back. And he saw me once more recently and was like, "Oh, good stuff."
That's awesome.
So it's like, all right, I feel better about this now.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we got a few more minutes left. Did you said you had a story for me you wanted to share?
Well, no, if you want me to tell a story, I didn't know. Yeah, I can whip up a story.
Yeah, let's do
But
that.
if you don't, What?
Let's do that.
All
I
right.
typically
Well,
have the guests come on. We have some segue music. I don't know if you'll be able to hear it on your end, but I'll let you know. Let me know if you can hear it.
It's story time. It's story time with Phantom. Yeah, it's story time. It's story time with Phantom and friends.
All right. We're good to go. What either I don't know if that even came through, so if it didn't,
that was
sorry.
a very awkward.
Yeah, yeah. You can do the
Let's
short
see if
one
I
if you
can.
want to, or the long one, whichever one you want to do.
Nah, I'm gonna try the short one. I'm gonna see if I can remember all the details of this. When I first moved here, um, my some friends of mine were like, it was around Labor Day weekend, and some friends of mine were like, "Hey, we're going to Lake Eufaula, which is like this lake 2 hours away, this giant lake in the middle of Oklahoma." So I'm like, "All right, I'll go to the lake. I'm not a lake guy. I don't know, whatever. Let's go." So we get to the lake. I had just moved, so like I was kind of in like a. I just split up with my wife. I'm just moving. Uh, I was dealing with very bad depression, so I was in like what I was calling like my yes phase. So I was just saying yes to things. I was just gonna try things I've never done before. I'm just gonna go for
Yeah.
it, right? So they're like, "Hey, we're going to the lake," and maybe I've been to a lake when I was 12. I haven't been to lakes. I'm not a lake guy. Outdoorsy. So I so we go to the lake, and everyone's like, "Oh, we're gonna go in the lake." I'm like, "Oh, okay, let's go in the lake." And they're like, well, "Do you want to go on one side is like the beachy area, and then the other side is like the piers where you can just jump into deep water." And I'm from an island, so I've seen beaches. So I'm like, "No, let's do the pier thing. Let's do the real authentic lake move." So we go to the lake side, we go to the pier side, and we everyone goes down to the pier, and I just get naked and jump in the water because I think that's what we're doing. And then I jump in the water, and then I turn around, and no one else is in the water. And I'm like, "What are you guys doing?" And they're like, "There's a boat parked where the stairs are, so you can't get out of the water because there's a boat."
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm like, "Huh." And I don't, I mean, you can't see from this, but I don't have like, I'm too big for my upper body strength to pull. I'm not pulling.
Yeah.
And as it turns out, I don't know how to swim. I didn't even think of that. It never occurred to me, oh, I'm gonna have to swim at some point in the water. I thought I would just jump in, doggy paddle, and then climb out. But no, now I live in the water because the boat is blocking the stairs. And I'm like, "Listen," I'm like, "either someone throw me a rope or throw me a knife because I'm either killing myself or you're pulling me in." And they got nothing. So then at one point I'm just like, so the ladder to the boat is up. So I can't climb it, but I can reach it. So I grab onto the ladder and like at least I'm just like,
Just hanging.
yeah. So now I'm just like floating, holding on this like boat's ladder. I'm just like, this is where I die. You know what I mean? I'm just in the water, like and I mean, what felt like hours, but probably like 20 minutes. I'm
Yeah.
just chilling. And they're like trying to like, "Oh, do we get a rope? Do we like tie things together how do we get you out?" Another boat comes by, And I'm like, can I climb into your boat? Can you throw me your ladder? And they're like, just push the boat away. Did you know you could do that?
Yeah. It wasn't like docked up.
It's docked, but you can. It's still.
Or just like, yeah.
Like you can untie it and just. Never occurred to anybody. There were like 6 of us on the dock. Didn't occur. You just push the boat away. I'm like, you motherfucker. Like, push the boat away.
Were you when you said naked? Were you like butt ass naked, or just
I
like
was in my boxers,
okay?
Boxer briefs.
Yeah, because I was like, if you're hanging from a boat, bare ass.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm in most of the water.
Yeah.
I'm mostly in water.
And were you having like fucking panic attacks, or were you laughing or what?
At first, and then it just set in. Then I was just like, oh, I die out here. Yeah, I wouldn't have chosen it, but.
So you ended up pushing the boat away?
Yeah, they just pushed the boat. It was the most anticlimactic. It was just like. I was like, oh, just push the boat away. No one thought of it. 6 adults. Never occurred to anybody.
God damn, dude.
They're tying towels end to end to throw. No, just push the boat. Oh yeah, push the boat.
That's so funny. God damn. Well, dude, this was a lot of fun. I'm like I'm glad that I got to have you on. I am just gonna do a couple announcements here. Like for anybody listening, we switched over to try this new application, Riverside, for video, and hopefully it's a little bit better than some of the other ones. If it's not, I apologize. We're trying to figure it out. But Neil, where can people find your stuff? Where can people support you?
Just neilrubenstein.com or Linktree/Neil Rubenstein or Patreon/Neil Rubenstein or at Neil Rubenstein on Instagram. Yeah, man. Yeah, the Patreon, I'm just learning how to use it. So there's some fun stuff up there. And then just, come see me live. Like that's the biggest help. Or tell the clubs in your neighborhood that you want to see me live. And that goes a long way too, because the more those guys hear your name,
the better. Dude, I appreciate you coming on, and just want to say thanks everybody for listening. If you did enjoy this episode, please make sure to rate and review us wherever you're listening. And if you watch us on YouTube, make sure to hit that notifications bell so you don't miss our upcoming content. Throw a comment in for Neil or myself. Make sure to follow him on YouTube as well. And just a reminder, we're on Patreon, patreon.com/FNFpod. As always, also follow us on Instagram at FNFpod. We're going to leave you with Jaga.
I just make the waves, I don't write them. I can hear the lyrics in my spirit as I write them. Why you wanna walk and talk just like them? I can't get caught up in all the hype and the excitement. I just make the waves, I don't write them. I can hear the lyrics in my spirit as I write them. Why you wanna walk and talk just like them? I can't get caught up in all the hype and the excitement. My wave pool, my wave pool. Welcome to 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 my wave pool, my wave pool.